Too, I don't know the date yet, I'll get it to you. Anyway, we're doing the Ballard Elks once a month, let me know when you're in
All
town.
sorts of stories about him. He's been the topic of conversation tonight.
Hey roommate, go to the window, the bellman has 3 cents for you. You should, oh you were? Oh no. Aloha my brother.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hey John, Tom Henry. Yeah, how are ya? Oh, well, thank you very much. You're only seeing my face right now.
Yeah.
It's all kind of something. Anyway, well, nice seeing you in person. It's been way too long. Go to the window, get 3 cents. Oh, man, good memory. We had our own retail store for 32 years, and we retired, went out of business 7 years ago, so our timing was perfect right before COVID. That would have driven me crazy if I couldn't be open. So yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see each other in person soon. Sometime. All right. Take care. Got Danny here.
Hey, John. There you go. I was waiting to see. Yeah. Oh, Wooly is just waiting for me to get back there. Not much there, but still waiting for me. Yeah. Now you know I'm coming, so you just I'm gonna hold you to that offer about dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, food. That's all that matters. As long as we're eating, breaking bread.
Just keep me posted on the timing.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Well, I'll let you know though. Seriously.
Okay.
All right. Good talking to you.
Identifying these pictures.
Hey John, this is Ted, Van Bronkhorst, how are you doing?
Good. I haven't seen you forever.
Just since 1984.
So I was going to tell a story about the multi-talents of TVD.
Yeah.
I recall very well the day that you pulled splinters out of my butt after I fell in the dock.
Nice.
Ooh,
Did I
hey,
use the tweezers?
that's a brand.
So behind me, I couldn't see.
Tweezers your megaphone, or did you get the
I have
tweezers?
no idea, I don't recall that, John, but I'm sure I did it without anesthesia. Hey, it's great.
Most grateful.
Oh, gosh, that's nice. It's great to see you, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you at the next event.
Good to see you.
All right, thanks, John.
I knew you'd like it.
Robert,
There's the big hunter.
yeah, we were talking about pig hunting and you killing one, and, yeah, so,
You got pictures on your phone?
I do, I'm gonna show them, yes. Yeah, hope to be over there next year. I'm finally recovering from my last surgery, my hip, and it looks like I'm finally gonna be able to do it again, so, next year I'm coming over to kill things. With you.
Just getting bigger.
Cool. Here you go, Davey.
Johnny,
That's what we're gonna do.
Dave,
good to
thank
see
you
you.
so much for organizing this.
My pleasure. Got a hat coming your way.
He's in
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's really great to see you. Lots of good stories.
He's one of our horsemen.
Too bad I'm not there to defend myself.
No, we want you to tell the ones that we can't get at you for.
You remember that guy?
All right. All right, we want to pass on to Terry?
John, it's been way too long, way too long.
Yes, old friends, good to see you.
Thank you very much. I went by your folks' place in Lacana for a while, and it made me really long to see you again.
Well, next time I'm up in the meeting with Canadian clients, I'll swing by.
I would like that very much. Take care now.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, John. Now you told a part of a story. Do you have any others you want to share with us?
Well, let's see. The bellman, go get your 9 cents from the bellman at the window. I still have mental scars and sleeping from that. But, you know, I was thinking, I think I mentioned to you in a note that being the purser made me kind of the guy designated to fall on the sword whenever something embarrassing happened with the media or public, and I just had to eat it. Like when we did the Red Raider banquet, and we had a special performance by Belinda Loveless. And, that made the front page of the UW Daily, and I had to follow my story to the team there and take it, the blame for that. And then there's always the freshmen doing something. Like, I can recall them with their catapult for water balloons and firing that from the roof of the crew house into the tennis team during an active practice.
Yeah.
The tennis coach coming over, and I was designated to defend the honor of the angelic grunties and take the screaming at me. But it was a good experience being person.
Hey, John, how many times did you get laked for getting excess mail?
Oh, I don't know. I think at least 6 times. I don't know.
I remember that. Yeah, he's always getting love letters.
Were they always from the same person?
I'm pretty.
No, a lady that Terry there knows, as a sorority practical joke, signed me up for all kinds of free cosmetic samples.
Oh, okay. I see. Good, good. I want to hear the story about the how you defended Conover from the football team.
Oh, is Mike Cole listening in?
No.
No.
Okay, well, the summer before the senior year, summer of '73, his brother and I lived in the crew house opposite of each other. He was cramming for the bar exam, and I was there with free rent just as long as I would babysit the new athletes coming in. And it also was occupied by some of the members of the football team who would get pretty high regularly and drunk. And on one weekend, they got both high and drunk and started kicking and punching holes in the drywall of the hallway of the old wing. And so I asked them, please don't do that, this is our home. And it escalated quickly into them threatening to kill me. And I said, well, some things are worth dying for. This is our home. And then when I said this is our home for the crew team, they backed off. But I told Erickson about it the next day, and then he must have done something because they never threatened me again after that.
Well, thank you for defending our homeland.
It was our home.
That's
And
right.
there were invaders.
How come you guys aren't coming over so I can buy you brunch or dinner?
Oh.
Which island are you
I
on?
invited you to go big hunting. You wouldn't follow on that.
The weather here is so perfect, why would we leave?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, John, do you have time to hear a story that's from Rosequist?
Sure.
Okay, Tom Henry's going to read it to us.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yeah.
So why don't you can you sit right here, Tom? That way you'll be able
Is
to.
this all one story?
Yeah.
So read fast.
It's about a 10-minute story, but it's worth it, I think.
All right, I've not read this yet, so it'll be new to me too. Now known by the auspicious title of Theodore Van Bronckhorst, back when he was one of us. We just called him Ted Van Bronk, Bronkbuster Van Brinksman, or TVB. Sorry, Teddy, if this story hasn't gotten out until now, and I am the first to expose it, still too good to let lie without giving some account of it for posterity. Again, my apologies. Finals week was upcoming, and I returned from Susalo very late one night via the northwest entrance. Making the turn at the ergo room, I was surprised to see anyone else was up and about. Something was obviously up, because there were lots of guys hovering out in the hall and around an open door. When they saw me, several ran down, barefoot, to meet me and motioned that I was to remain silent. Curious, I complied. They eagerly led me back up the hall where I could see that the group was all grunnies, which filled the open room to a near overflow. I also noted they had balanced a trash can full of water at a 45-degree angle against the door adjacent to the room where they were silently gathered. 2 of them were on hands and knees and were holding a ketchup bomb, each in an outstretched hand, positioned on either side of the precariously balanced trash can. For each man with a ketchup bomb, there were 2 at the ready to strike matches and apply the flames to each respective fuse. 1 man was a counter who was centered between them on one knee. Is this seriously true? I was not there. Intently watching the doorway with unswerving eyes. From inside the closed door came muffled groans and moans. One of them was female. My deduction was that this particular upperclassman had ignored a preordained and certain lake shot in favor of the cardinal sin of bringing a girl back to the brew house. He had kicked the grunny out of the room for the occasion. This general affront might well have slid without significant notice if not for the imminence of the dreaded finals week and the prerequisite of studying every spare moment. The grunty had complained of this injustice to his friends. A mob had been formed, a plan of retribution had been formulated, and I was an unsuspecting chance witness to the ensuing action. Inside the open door of the room, I could see 2 of the grunnies were kneeling at the lower bunk facing each other, listening intently with their ears pressed against water glasses and the water glasses pressed against the dividing wall where the action was taking place just inches away on the other side. This was an effective acoustic trick I hadn't known about previously. The 2 were collaborating in gestures only about the perfect timing for the ensuing revenge. When they both finally agreed that the time had come, they hurriedly set down their respective water glasses and gave a thumbs up. That thumbs up message was silently but rapidly relayed out of the room, around the corner into the hall and to the matchmen, and subsequently to the final countdown guy and the bomb throwers. The fuses were lit simultaneously, and at the silent finger count of 3 by the countdown guy, the bombs were smoothly slid under the door. The respective ignitions so close to each other that it sounded as if it was a single very loud explosion. Personal experience attests that a single ketchup bomb is deafening when it goes off in a confined space with the door and window closed. 2, wow. With the successful completion of the intended RF, the grunties in the hallway retreated to their room and closed the door enough to only leave sufficient room for a single vertical line of heads to witness the results of a well-planned and executed operation. Being one of the last ones in the room and with some applied force to some obviously more deserving grunnies, I was able to include my head in that precious vertical lineup. As we collectively retreated into the safety of the adjacent room, I noted that our unanimously favored Swain had just made the turn from the ergo room, having been studying up campus even longer than I had. His gaze was affixed on the balanced trash can full of water, and his pace slowed, curiosity overtaking his Suzzalo stagger as he approached more closely. The firecrackers went off and loudly reverberated through the door and into the hall, startling him into a full stop. In what seemed to be less than a breath's time, the door was flung open, exposing a panting and sweating oarsman who was tripped by the trash can of water, severely barking his chin in the process. He went down hard and couldn't get sufficient traction to get vertical again for 2 tries due to the wet feet, wet floor trash can, and the weight combination. He went down both times in an ungainly pile of arms and legs. He finally got vertical on the 3rd effort, kicking the trash can out of the way and down the hall. That left TVB standing in bewildered innocence. directly in front of this very large and muscular, pointedly naked guy who was totally and indescribably furious. With appropriately righteous rage, crimson face, and eyes bulging with hatred, the downtown lover assumed that the diminutive Cox was the sole source of the premature frustration. Teddy, always humorous, normally mischievous, could have seemed a reasonable candidate for blame, but this time was simply in the classic wrong place, wrong time scenario. For a scant second, they stared at each other, both wide-eyed, but for different reasons. As a prelude to action, looking down on his prey, the big man roared, deep, guttural, primal, resonant, eminently sincere, and really loud. The volume startled all of us. It would have made the MGM Lion at full decibel seem like he was representative of an adolescent choir from Vienna. Teddy's body recoiled from the blast of air back toward the hall wall. No time was left for fight, no possibility or flight. Ted's scant $1.17 race weight was scooped up, pinioned to the ceiling, and there with one hand. With other hand, our intentionally nameless naked guy kept an accusing hairy index finger outstretched into Teddy's face. He explained with high volume expletives in a very convincing way, something to the effect, I am going to kill you. Feel free to fill in the blanks as to method. I recall the extended list of details as being inventively lurid and ever so graphic. I'm sure face to face and looking into those fervent and bloodshot eyes, TVB was absolutely convinced of the imminence of his own degrading and unseemly homicide, as it was the first time I'd ever known him to be completely, totally speechless. I remember his legs were dangling down and had an inexplicable, uneven rhythm of movement. It was half shuffle, half spasm that gave the impression of ambulation. Weird, walking on air, sort of, but a very different take on that normal expression. By this time, the graphic humor of the situation had overcome us all, and the room of grunnies, plus one innocent passerby, proceeded to launch into hysterical laughter. The volume of this hysteria is likely the only thing that saved TVB from an impending, ignoble demise. Teddy was summarily jettisoned to the floor in favor of a mass murder of the actual culprits. When TVB was airborne, I took the precaution of opening our door wider so that the whole room of grunnies could witness the scene, just out of the oarsman's peripheral vision. Now that we were the intended victims, we teasingly slowly closed, then resoundingly locked the door to avoid the obviously fatal reprisal. As RFs go, it was perfect in both planning, timing, and outcome. I recall hearing a girl's lilting laughter combining with our own, and I instantly loved her. What a great sport. I hope he proposed to her, albeit sometime after he had cooled down and could see the humor of the situation himself, something that may have taken years. As an added bonus for the gleeful grunnies, it was their legitimate job to introduce the offending upperclassmen to the lake at dinner the next evening for bringing such a sweet girl into the crew house, just as sweeter than dessert. As an aside, I am pretty sure that Teddy could have gotten a couple or 3 more hours of time Suzzallo that night. I'm positive the added adrenaline would have been adequate to keep him fully awake at night, all night. Nightmares and PTSD on subsequent nights. Seriously though, one of the greatest of RFs on record. Again, my apologies to Ted. Too good, just too good.
I didn't know Rosie was an English major.
No way.
Very nice.
All right.
Do you remember that? I recall nothing.
So you can't rat the guy out. I don't know. We inquire much. Who was it?
It's
If it was down that hall, I could probably narrow it
Yeah, I
down.
couldn't
but-
Who was it?
Because I think might have been living down there at the time.
I don't know. I thought it was Pete Sweeney.
I he lived in,
How about Sean?
was it Spring Quarter? I don't know. I have no idea who it was.
All right, Rosie. Get on the
Rosie
phone.
on the line.
Right. Well, John, could you hear all that?
Except I had to run away for about 30 seconds, yeah.
Okay, I think you got
Good
the,
story.
but you got the gist of the idea anyway, so.
Well, I recall that kind of event happening more than once.
Okay, we'll save the rerun stories for later then. Well, so glad you could join in, and we're gonna actually let's start doing a few more stories here too. Whoever wants to volunteer, and you're welcome to join in and listen if you like. But we know you got plans this evening too, so.
I'll listen in for a little while until
Yeah.
to peel up.
Okay, correct. Well, I'll just leave it. I'll leave the camera and the laptop right here, so we'll cycle people through. Whoever's interested in jumping in. So.
I can hear well, so it isn't, the video's not that too important.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Well, we'll just leave it anyway. Okay. Well, so with that great introduction, not that nobody's just expected to compete with Rosie's story. For sure.
Does, just real briefly, the RF thing, does anyone remember the time it was, it must have been spring, it was really a nice day, we were out on the lawn, and somebody had the idea of feeding this dang goose all day. And they fed it and fed it and fed it. Was it Jim Hart's room?
It was Mark Jakes.
Mark Jakes.
Mark Jakes.
Mark Jakes' room, and I swear he came up in his Porsche, and he came parked, and prior to that, they put this goose in his room. I think they opened up all the drawers and the closets after it had eaten all day and started chucking fireworks in there, firecrackers in there. And I guess it crapped all over. And he comes up, walks in the room, and about, I don't know, who was his roommate? I can't remember. Not fun for his roommate,
Yeah.
but anyway, that was extremely bad.
No, and his Porsche ended up on the dock one day too. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he kept parking it where it wasn't
supposed to be.
So picked it up and carried it down and put it on the dock.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark never figured out that people didn't appreciate him and his Porsche.
Yeah. Right. Showing off. Okay. Any more?
I can tell a TBV story that I think is true. The first San Diego Crew Classic, we were juniors, and we went down there and we raced. We had a great race. It was a beautiful day, and afterwards they took all of us down to meet the ladies of the Zalax.
Yeah.
The Zalax or the women's club there. Zelda. It was founded by Zelda, Lena, Agnes, Cheryl. And they put us in a room, this big table as I remember it, and it was like boy, girl, all the way around. And I don't know what we were supposed to do, just talk or something like that or whatever.
Because you were high school students.
High schools.
Yeah.
And so the girls are giggling and we're sitting there twiddling our thumbs, not knowing what to do. And finally one of the girls
High
says,
school girls?
let's play mailbox. Let's, have a message go all the way around and see how it goes. So Ted is sitting next to Bruce Bell, and Ted says, I got a message, and they said, okay. And he turns to Bruce and goes up to close to him, and Bruce just jerks back and practically falls out of his chair. And he says, I can't do that. I can't pass that message on. Well, it turns out Ted has stuck his tongue in his ear.
I think Bruce is a teddy bear, not Sunni. Man.
Okay. Now that I got your attention.
Bruce Bell deserved it.
Sit over here.
I've got a absolutely.
Can I add something on the San Diego Crew Classic?
Yeah.
This was just the one time I went my senior year. I do want to apologize to everybody in the JV boat for throwing up on that Kitty Queen as the bound man at the award ceremony, because I know you guys didn't get your complimentary kiss.
Well, John, I have a story about our senior year, and this was the class day race. I haven't told this story to anyone in this group. I don't think people may not even remember this. I'm not sure. But it's taught me a life lesson, and without getting too serious or anything, it was definitely something I remembered. So we were in the senior boat. We were in the north lane, next to the wall on the north side, near the canoe house. And we were the favorite crew. The second favorite crew was the freshman crew, stroked by Mike Cass, with John Stillings as coxswain. And they were a reasonable crew, and considering our night the night before in the Aldrich Tavern, they had a pretty good shot. So this was also parenthetically about a week after the sinking of the McCurdy, if you recall that.
Very well.
Yeah.
I was in the McCurdy.
I was in the
Yeah.
McCurdy.
And I think John was in it, Rosie was in it. Yeah, so that was quite an event. So anyway, we started out, we're going down the race course. We took a small lead, and we were probably 3 or 4 seats up. And John Stillings calls out to me, which is kind of unusual in the race. He says, "Hey, Ted, do you see that log in front of you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, Stillings. I got it, no problem." I didn't even look. I wasn't going to look because, as you know, if you're going to see something right in front of the shell, you're going to have to lean out one side or the other. And we had a small lead, so I wasn't going to risk that. So I said, "No problem, John, we got it." So I put it out of my mind. It was about 5 seconds later, I saw a large, dark item shoot past the boat under the port riggers. So I know George was stroking that boat, and David, of course, was on the port side in that boat, but I never said anything to anyone, but I knew that if that object had hit the shell, it would have sunk us. It was a 50-gallon drum, nearly submerged, so it was probably half or more full of whatever it contained, water. So we were very lucky, because I never saw it coming, but it went right under the rowlocks.
Wow.
And so my story, the sad part for me is the hubris and arrogance that I exhibited in not attending to the matter at the time, but it taught me an important thing, which I was sharing with Ellen tonight, and that is accept help. If somebody offers help, accept it.
Good idea.
Amen.
Well, I thought the race plan was to tell Stillings there was something in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we discussed it. We discussed Stillings having you tell Stillings.
So that was probably in your mind.
Oh my God, and then it turned out it was in front of us.
Did you see it go by?
I don't remember.
Wow. Well, that probably was in your mind when that was, and you're gonna go, "Hey, they stole our idea."
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
They beat us to
That's
it.
right.
Now, which class put that drum out?
Yes.
Yes.
Why didn't the course marshals pick it up?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well. Wasn't meant to be.
It was good.
Meant to be that we scooted by and won.
Exactly.
Wow.
So John, good to see you. I'll turn over the mic to someone else here.
Anybody else?
I'd like to tell a Gellerman Ulbrichtson story.
You gotta sit there for John.
There are some,
have to sit here.
some great Gellerman stories in and of themselves.
but I thought this was a real pearl. I don't remember why, but Gellerman was talking to us about Ulbrichtson, and he said, yeah, one day Al had us row down to the old floating bridge down by Mercer Island, and then we weighed enough. Somebody in one of the boats was kind of making a conniption, and huffing and puffing. And so Al, he says, old Al kind of motored his launch over and said, what seems to be the problem? One of the oarsmen said, oh, Coach, I'm just feeling terrible. God, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can row home. And Gellerman says, Big Al kind of looked at him and looked around and said, take a deep breath and fart. And motored off. Now, if that's not a coaching pearl. All right.
Nobody else?
Oh, I got some.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill. One of them, I got two TVB stories. The one was, well, I have a couple Whatcom stories, but I remember, I don't know if everybody remembers, but we pulled Tid on water skis at Whatcom.
That's right.
Maxwell.
Huh?
Jim Maxwell.
Oh, it was? Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was you.
Nope.
Okay, but the other one was this. One of my favorite memories of rowing was we were at the Stewards Cup. I think it was our senior year, and after we finished whatever race we were at, Andy and I took a pair with. You were with us then, weren't you?
Go on. I'm not
Well,
sure.
we were racing the old course, 2,000 meter, but the wind was up. It was like really hard day, and Andy and I are just keeping ahead of these two Canadian dudes, and it was taking I think 15 minutes for the race. It was just going on forever. And Jordan Maine's dad was in the launch next to us, and all of a sudden Ted started laughing, and we started laughing. I just remember clearly that we were just like, this is insane. We were just having the best time, and you started it by laughing like, what are you guys doing? That's it.
Did you win?
Yeah, we did. And you were talking about the football team. Does everybody remember when we went to practice one morning and the coach said, I need to talk to you guys about, somebody did a dine and dash at the Pancake House. Do you remember that one? The football team posed as the crew team, did a dine and dash, and the next morning Erickson called us all on the carpet, said, you guys are in deep shit. And because it was the IHOP on University Avenue. And we were all like, Coach, don't you realize that the football team did that? Anyway, one of their football team. I had to go up and meet with Jim Owens because after the football team moved out, they threw our TV into the water. And I went up and said, Coach, I'm from the rowing team, and we need to get reimbursed for our television. And he looked at me and he goes, well, no problem, boy. That's just fine. Here's another, he gave me a check right there. The big fella.
It's good.
Was the check good?
Well, the purser paid. He gave it to the purser.
I don't remember that.
Well, no, he paid for it. I don't know how it came out, but it was the annual tradition for the football team to throw our color television in the water.
I do remember going to get it. Say, man, Jim, you guys had this parakeet and a record, if I remember. And when I went through language training with the U.S. government, every foreign language, the first few days, whenever I was asked a question in the new language, all I could remember was, hello, baby, want to kiss?
Yeah, in fact, Reese and I had it, and Jim Brinchfield tried to teach it how to speak, put him on his finger, and as loud as he could, he'd actually get Hiram's head in his mouth, and he'd go, hello, baby, want to eat me? Yeah, so, yeah, that was great. Talking about Reese, Dave and I did a couple of things. remember when we were sophomores, previous years before class day, they would paint the UW on the bridge, and we were told in no uncertain terms we were never to do that again. So Dave and I, Dave in particular, who's a rule follower, decided this was an unfortunate rule. So we got, and Dave still has the sweatshirt, turned our sweatshirts inside out, and put beanies on, and went onto the Montlake Bridge, and there's a little opening, little door, and there was a guy on duty, and we watched, and we both ran across, went down, and painted the bridge. So the next day at the race, everybody's going, no one was supposed to do that. But when we got down, we had the purple and the gold paint cans with strings tied to ropes tied to them. And Dave starts climbing up one of the girders, and out come about 6 or 7 pigeons. Scared the crap out of us, and I dropped the paint. Good thing we had it on ropes, or we would have lost the paint. But we painted, of course, we never told anybody, but we painted the bridge. And I remember Erickson was angry about it because people had ignored him. What a shame ignoring Erickson. And then the other one that was similar, senior year before the Red Raider banquet. Remember Erickson, sorry ladies, used to say he wanted us to hurt so bad it felt like we'd hung our balls over the side of the boat and beat on them with an oar. Remember that? The Hang 'em Out and Beat on 'em award? So Dave and I went into downtown Seattle, and they had all these cranes, and on the bottom of the cranes they had 50-pound metal balls that were tied to them to keep the cable straight. Well, we decide we're going to take 2 of those and paint one purple and one gold to give them to Erickson. So the first one we do, we're not the brightest guys. So as we take the little pin out that's holding the cable to the ball, because there's a hook on it, the cable just goes up and all the way down. So I'm sure when the guys got there the next morning, they were really angry. The ball's missing, and they've got to thread this cable. So we're brilliant. So the next one, because there was another one, we figured out we don't want to do that again, so we were able to tie off the cable, and we took them home, painted them purple and gold, put a U and a W on them, and gave them to Erickson for the Hang 'em Out and Beat on 'em award. Yeah. Just because we're good, honest oarsmen.
That's right.
Yeah. Those are my stories. Now I can't get up, damn it.
Know your pain.
Anybody else? No requirement.
I got one story that you guys never heard.
Yeah.
You're all traveling. Maybe John was around, I don't know, but the varsity and the JV and everybody were out of town, and it was a winter day. It was like maybe the first weekend of the spring quarter. It was a really bad day like today, and Teasdale took out the Connie, or whatever, the Husky, and was driving it, and I took out a Whaler. And I got the great idea that it would be really fun to surf the back wake of the Connie. And so...
With the Whaler.
With the Whaler. So I got up on the wake, and the Whaler turned 90 degrees, and the water took me out of the boat. But I had the throttle on full. And when the boat righted itself, it was at full throttle, but nobody was in it, so it was light as a feather.
Oh my God.
And I'm wearing a leather jacket, and Teasdale's looking back, and he sees this, and he's thinking, well, do I help him? Or, oh God, the Whaler's gonna go crash into Hunts Point, or Webster Point, and kill somebody, ruin somebody's boat. And the Whaler was just heading right to Webster Point. And so he came back and got me, and meanwhile I was just like praying that thing, and sure enough, it started to turn just enough, and it made a big arc around Portage Bay, or Union Bay, and came back around, and it kept going around in circles, and it finally washed up on the shore in the weeds, and we could save it, but no, nobody ever knew about that. Teasdale never told on me.
Keeping it quiet.
Story not to be told again.
Nope.
So I relayed this to Dave earlier, but we've kept it quiet.
I
What?
gotta come down here for John.
Oh,
Here for the microphone.
anyway, do you remember Ted. It was a freshman year, and it was spring, and I don't think we had an afternoon practice. Nice day, and it was probably Dave's idea. Decided to take out a pair. Whip, and you were there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So we started rowing into Lake Union. We rowed to the south end of Lake Union to the old Naval Reserve Armory, and I think we'd taken in some water. I can't imagine any other reason why we would have wanted to get off onto a dock that was about 10 inches too tall, I swear. But
Somebody
I think,
had to.
what was the reason? Huh?
Somebody had to use the toilet, I believe.
Wasn't me. Only now do I.
You're on the water, what's
I
the
would say
problem?
now. Okay, so we got out, and I don't know what happened, but maybe someone thought they should release the oil lock or something.
Or
But
something.
We flipped that boat so quick, we were all in the water. It was just like, zoom, and we're totally soaking. And we get out, we empty it out, and God, you're just freezing to death. And of course, you're wearing a few layers of clothes. And we rode that thing back, and I never told the story to anybody because I don't think we didn't ask permission to go out in this pier, and I probably didn't have a lot of experience rowing a pier. But that was one of the dumbest things we did.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I told the follow-on to that is that Medlock and I took out pairs sometimes, usually straight pairs, and we called it the polar pair because
Yeah, the Arctic polar pair.
we take them out during winter, which was really dumb. But and
Two
we
socks.
with gloves on and everything on, and these great aviator hats that came down over our ears. Anyway, we had this in our mind that it would be fun to take the stroke, lay back, and lay flat
Oh
back on our back.
Sure.
And just let the boat run.
In a
you
pair.
know? It's so beautiful, so aesthetic. And just looking at the golden or the silver water going by and everything like that, and just then an oar dug in, and just flipped, just like you said,
exactly.
in an instant.
Where were you?
Yeah, we were right off of the canoe house, basically.
Yeah, we didn't have far to go, but
A
it
little
was
cold.
cold. Yeah, it was snowing the day we did that, and we each had like 4 pairs of tube socks that we'd cut holes in for our thumbs, so our hands weren't freezing until we went in the water. Then we were freezing. Yeah, and it was all because I personally was the best oarsman on the team, so it wasn't my fault.
Never is.
Yeah.
Tom, John here. Whatever happened to Pete the Piranha?
It lives.
Lives on. Lives on.
He's in our freezer.
No. John, this is my wife Patty.
Hi, John. He's in the freezer. Okay.
No, it's a long story. But one summer when my mother was taking care of Peter, the heater stuck on, and Peter got poached, and she didn't know what to do, and we were gone, and she puts him in a shoebox and puts it in the freezer. Well, I then was presented this my frozen pet, dead, and so from then on, I didn't have the heart to get rid of him, so I moved him 4 houses and probably 6 freezers, and we're hoping for some kind of cryogenic breakthrough that we'll be able to. I should have brought him tonight, though. But thanks for remembering. Yeah.
Oh, I remember a lot of little details like that. Everybody's got dirt.
Yeah, everybody's got
I got one. This is a story that was followed with a question for all of you. I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you all, but okay, it took 50 years to get there, but I would imagine most of you may remember the story being told on me at the Red Raider banquet. And I think I might have gotten the Husky Huts Award for it, I'm not sure. And for the ladies in the group, HUTS stands for Head Up the Sphincter. So, yeah, just, not that you need to know that, but here's the story. Freshman year, I think it was a Cal race. If one of you know differently, feel free to correct me, but you know, part of the tradition was back then is to prepare the boat on Friday before the race on Saturday. And so we come off the water after our workout and we clean the boat. And I was nervous, freshman, you know, small town kid from Issaquah, and I'm among all you studs, you know, I'm going, here's my chance to be one of the team. And so anyway, we go through this routine that Gellerman had told us was what you're supposed to do, and that is we had to clean the boat and then wipe it down with oil. And it was called ooh-ah oil, as you may remember. And so we wiped it down with the ooh-ah oil, and then of course we had previously had to clean the inside too. So you pull the seat out and you clean the track, make sure there's not any grit in there so the wheels roll well, and then I wasn't quite done cleaning my track. I said, get your seats back here, we're gonna flip it over and put the ooh-ah oil on. And so I put my seat back in and then put the oil on and we put the boat away, and I didn't sleep well that night because tomorrow's race day, and I probably got 3 hours of sleep. And anyway, we get down there, and again, a nervous young novice rower essentially, and so we go out there, and you know it's very quiet and serious. You know, you're focused on one thing, and that is you get out there and win, and we all got to sit down together and push off and make it look good at the dock. I sit down and my seat's on backwards. And of course I knew who had done it. That was me. But so the question was, in the moment, it went this quick conversation in my head was, what do I do now? Do I tell him? Do I not tell him? And I decided, I kind of was going, this is not comfortable, but can I row this way? And I decided to row this way.
So how'd it go?
And we won. But I had one heck of a big blister on my tailbone, which I did not show anybody or tell anybody about. But I made the mistake of telling somebody. And I don't know who it was. But I said, okay, this is history. This is history. But guess what story showed up at the Red Raider Bank? And so I got the award for that. But I, to this day, do not know who told the team. So I'll look you all in the eye.
Anybody look at oil?
Well, it was 54 years ago.
Get over
So I don't know for sure, but I've known this story a long time. So it might have been me.
I think there was a statute of limitations.
knowing that this is 50.
Okay, well, I guess you get your dessert then, but.
That's a good one.
Oh. Yeah,
Is
that
that
story
a news
gets told
story
over.
for anyone else besides George?
What's that?
Is that a news story for anyone else?
I've never heard it.
You had, okay. Well, that's been told in many many groups of, I mean, Dwight Phillips has told that 30 times, I'm sure.
I've told it all over.
He's the man.
But,
I've got an Erickson story.
Yeah.
So
Several.
this was after we had graduated, and I can't remember why, but I stopped by and was talking with Erickson up in his office, and he says, "Yeah, Mike Lude called me into his office the other day." So I went in and I said, "Well, yes." And Lude throws these keys on the top of the desk and says, "Well?" So Erickson said, "Well, I picked up the keys. They were slightly familiar, and they said Lee's Keys on the back." Now, for those of you who don't know, Lee's Keys was the key maker over in University Village. Eric says, well, so? He says, well, I found some of your oarsmen downstairs in the weight room on Sunday. And they used these keys to get in. Eric says, I just shrugged and I said, Mike, you can't keep my guys out of the weight room, and walked out.
Good one.
Athletic director.
Who recently passed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was great for the football team.
Didn't he have us over to his house for some kind of dinner?
I don't know.
Thought he entertained us.
But when the stadium fell down on his watch, you know, they printed those cards that said, you know, Stadium 1, Husky 0 or something like that. He got those pulled out of production. He did not have any sense of humor.
Wow. Well, I want a big thank you to you guys. I mean, for being who you were to me. I mean, we all have grown in ways that we probably can't really share in a way that really tells the full story, but you've all made a big difference in who I am. And I remember Gellerman, this is one of a story on me again, I guess, but I remember my freshman year. Do you guys remember Mike Chapman on the lightweight team? He and I were both at Terry Hall. We were in our freshman fall quarter, and so we had to, you know, we did those evening workouts and had to walk back in the dark and caught maybe the tail end of the dinner service, and Mike we always walked back together, and we walked. I had a practice had not gone well for me, and Gellerman was on me about a variety of things, but I got done with the row and I wanted to go ask him a question about. So I understood what it was he really wanted me to do differently. And he was standing talking to somebody, I don't know who it was, but I was patiently waiting for him to finish, and without me even saying, hey coach, I got a question, he finishes talking to the guy he was talking to, turns to me and he goes, Norrell, some people are just not coachable. And I thought, my question was gone at that point. And I was not laughing. I turned with my tail tucked between my legs and said, Mike, let's go. And we walked up to the fountain on the way, and we stopped for a moment, and we're both of us kind of like, why are we doing this sport? You know, because it's fall quarter, and you know, we started with 120 guys, however many with that first meeting, and it whittled down. Nobody got cut to whatever the final total number was at the end of our freshman year. And anyway, at that point, I said to Mike, I'm not sure I want to keep doing this. This is crazy. And he talked me back into it. He said, let's go give it another day. And we came back, and I thank him and you guys for being there for me. It's made a huge difference in my life for sure. So thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an experience that's different but similar with Gellerman.
Yeah.
Lou had recruited me for 2 years. I was a 6'4", 195-pound swimmer, and I didn't show up until winter quarter, so I wasn't there in the fall. And I had started drinking beer and eating donuts. So I show up the first day of winter quarter, and Gellerman's standing at the door of the Conabear. I come walking up with my dad. I now no longer weigh 195 pounds. I weigh 252.
Oh, a lot of donuts, man.
Oh, hell yeah. And Lou looks at me, and my dad's standing next to me, and Lou looks at me and he goes, what the hell happened to you? Yeah, that began a great year with Lou. You know, what the hell happened to you? And I said, well, I started drinking beer and eating donuts. And he says, well, that stops today. And one other time we were eating in the lunch, and my back was to where the lobby was, And I don't know who was sitting at the table with me, but I was eating, and Gellerman was coming behind. I didn't know this. He must have been walking up behind me doing, shh, nobody say a word. Because he walks up behind me and I just take a piece of lemon meringue pie and it's about right in front of my face. And he says to me, "How much you weigh today, Meddy?" Too much. Put it down and pushed it away. And I didn't have dessert again that season. Yeah. But yeah, Lou.
So on the Lou theme, Jim and I think Cliff Hearn were really good to Lou when he was infirmed and much older, and you would go down and pick him up for special events. And what were we going to, a memorial for?
Yeah, it was something at the Shell House.
Yeah, it was like the awards ceremony for the team for the last year or something like that. And he was using a walker, and he had on gray sweatpants. He looked every bit like the old people's home. And he's just inching along like this, and here are the oarsmen that are about to receive their award for national championship, and they're all in their suits and ties outside of Conybeare looking around, and here comes this guy going by, and they were pretty respectful to him. They said, hi, how are you, sir? How are you, sir? And he just looked at him and he said, "Gentlemen, this is what you've got to look forward to."
Okay.
So I want to just do a little thing here. This isn't funny. It's not. But I was just thinking about our practices and what we all went through. That and particularly freshman year, I think we're all remembering Lou Gell stories. Because freshman year, and what you said about appreciating everybody, and that made me think, you think about those turnouts. We'd get up at 5:30 or something like that. I think some of us would get coffee or something like that, and then go downstairs in our socks and look up at the tongue depressors. Am I remembering this correctly?
Oh, yeah.
And you see where you were going to be that day, and whatever boat it was, and all that. And and we'd all be like stretching, and we could all stretch and put our palms on the floor in those days. My surgeon was asking me to touch the floor, and I think I got about to here, and I was remembering, how I could put my palm flat on the floor. And I think probably all of us could, because you had to be able to reach out that far, especially us short guys. So, but that whole ritual that we went through every morning, and we would do that 5 days a week, and getting out on the water. And I remember one turnout where for some reason, Lou Gels took us way up the lake. It felt like it was almost to Kenmore. It might have been to Kenmore, I don't know. But I remember it was one of those flat mornings in May when it was beautiful and it was completely still. The water was completely still, and for some reason our boat was just that flow where you don't hear anything except for the sound of the water running under the boat and the click of the oarlocks, and everything is just smooth, and then the sun comes up, and normal civilians don't understand that feeling of being out in that kind of a situation. That was so magical. Those are the kind of things that we'll never forget. I know you guys probably have 1,000 other things. It just was, as everybody was talking, I was thinking about what a special thing that was for us to be able to do that. And I mean, the races were great and fantastic, and the studs, they got to go all these fun places all over the country, of the world. Where we had our Red Raider banquet, back home. We were roasting you guys. But just the day-to-day stuff that we did that was so different. We'd be walking on campus with our shaved heads. Everybody else, back in 1970 or 72 was a long hair down to there, and we'd be these giant zombies walking around on campus, and it was. But I mean, we had such a camaraderie and such a, everywhere we went together, we did everything together. Go on grunt runs at night to 7-Eleven or whatever. And,
Perfect.
Herfe's, you know. all this.
Herfe's.
Cause Herfe's had all the ketchup you could get, and then you had to buy the 3-cent dunk cups from McDonald's.
Right. So I mean, just a lot of amazing things, and just as you guys are talking, it's all kind of replaying in my mind, and I hope that it is for you guys too, remembering how amazingly special and how blessed we were to be, you know, the people that were in that crew, you know, in '74. And I always felt like our crew was unique, and I don't know if there was. I think we were smaller than most groups.
When I got there in January, late December, there were 18 of us on the team, 2 8s and 2 coxswains, Brad Dart, Teddy, and 16 of us. But like 128 guys had turned out in the fall, and there were only 18 of us left. When we got our hair cut as freshmen, only the seniors cut the hair. The juniors and the sophomores didn't. You know how many seniors there were when we were freshmen? There were 3. Only 3 guys had made it through the whole time. I don't know if we still are. We were one of the largest graduating classes who made it through as seniors. There were so many of us who made it through. And for me, I was hurt all the time, not a great athlete. I remember you guys. That's why I'm here. I remember you guys. I remember living at the Shell House. And my dad told me before I went, he says, he was never in college. He was in the Air Force for 30 years. But he said, you're going to make friends you're going to have for the rest of your life. And I remember thinking, and I asked him, how do you know that? And he says, well, I've been around young guys a lot, and you're never going to do this again, ever. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I never have. I've never had another experience like we had together. And I remember the rowing, but that's not why it's special to me. I agree with you, Andy.
Yeah.
It's because of you guys.
Yeah, some of those memories, like Saturday morning, Chasey AC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
On the mornings that we got back from a freezing row, piling towels in the drains of the shower and flooding them and letting them run full blast
And
on
get
us.
steam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you remember doing squat jumps with the
Yes,
tires?
my knees.
You
do.
know, and it's like, you think about what modern medicine would say about that particular thing.
Well,
That's after
Gellerman,
running 20 rows up the Heck Edmondson stairs and back.
yeah, Gellerman with the nifty 9s, you know.
Nifty 9s, yeah.
Yeah, the nifty 9s were brutal.
Yeah, that was Harry Sweat, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's very sweat.
Harry Sweat.
They don't even reach out. I don't know if you noticed this, the rowing yesterday, Ted, but they don't even reach out anymore for the catch or lay back at all. It's just bam, 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 bam.
Well, they're rowing at
sitting
40
upright.
beats a minute in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
You know, they start at like 44. But yeah,
Wow.
they don't do those long reaches. It's a different,
And
and I love being an old man and I can say this, it's a different sport and they're all pussies.
That was high, right?
And yet they got 20 seconds faster than our best time.
Yeah, but I
It's
do
a lighter
think
boat.
there's a lot.
Yeah,
lot with the
it's
boat.
just the boat.
Yeah.
Lighter boat.
Do you
Yeah,
guys,
it's-
I don't
it's
know if
the
you guys
oars.
are
The
aware,
oars are fast.
we're
Oh,
the
no,
last,
and the
we're the
oars.
last class that learned to row with sweep oars. You know, the ones they used in the Olympics in '36? We're the last class to learn to row with
And you
sweep
notice them
oars.
boys in the boat, those were our oars.
Yeah, and we're the last class to learn fast hands out of bow.
Right.
Because then they went to the national
that
team
was
thing.
my dad.
National team
Yeah.
thing. And
Fast hands in the
we were the best team in the country. They all should have changed to the way we row. I never understood why we had to change to people who weren't as good as we were. I never understood it. I mean, as good as you guys were, because I suck.
Well, that was the thing, when Cal would come up, you know, they would do that shake and bake and then just storm up into the
Yeah,
catch
that's right.
and check the hell out of the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder we beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fast hands out of bow. But when we went to the national camp program, I did not understand why we had to learn to row like slower teams. I didn't understand it. We beat them all the time. I don't understand why we had to switch to their style of rowing.
Well, Mark, you're probably the one that can tell us the answer to that.
Well, I wasn't the coach, but, so that's the reason, is the coach.
Yeah.
Where did the coach come from? Harry Parker had the Harvard style.
Yep.
He created it, he kept it.
Is that what Rosenberg taught?
Rosenberg had a style was even not exactly what the Harvard guys had to change to.
Yeah.
You know, to go for Rosenberg. So there was a middle ground in there. But bottom line, it comes down to who's the coach. They get to play the game. They get to call the game.
Yeah.
That's how it went. Anybody else?
Well, I didn't want to be the last, but it looks like I might be. And I wasn't going to do it because you guys had great anecdotes, and mine really is more like Andy's. You know, it's and yours too. But you know, freshman year, we were on. Well, Dave, Andy, and I, and Rick Wallace. You know, we're Green Lake guys, and we were pretty hot item in our minds because we knew what we were doing. The rest of you guys were, you know, trying to figure it out. But my story though is that it goes back to Harry Putnam, or Swetnam, I mean Putnam, that's a better name. But Swetnam had, the other thing that he loved to do is deadlifts with as much weight as possible, and you're gonna lift straight with your back. And I told a couple of guys this story already, but it was freshman year, first day of finals, winter quarter, and we'd done some deadlifts the week before, and he decided we're gonna do 20 pounds more. And I don't know who I was lifting with, one of you guys, and just went down just like always, you know, not thinking about using the legs in the right part of your body. It's all over the back, which, you know, was already a mess. And I went up and went straight back down on the floor, and I was a mess, just sweating them. I remember just took me off the floor, put me in his car, hauled me to the University Hospital, and they admitted me, did an x-ray, found out that I had my vertebrae was ruptured, and it was protruding, you know, from the vertebrae was ruptured, and the disc was protruding, and I cannot think of, somebody probably knows the doc or physician, who was the doctor at the U at that time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, because he did all the football guys, but
Medved?
what was it?
Medved?
Something like that.
Yeah,
But-
he was a former football player, right?
Yeah, he did us. He did me, so he's looking at me, and they did the x-ray, and he says, well, you got a problem here with your protruding disc. There's one way we do it, and that's just we open you up, take it out, and then fuse the disc, and you're not going to do anything athletic the rest of your life. And he said there's been an experimental way to deal with this, and that's to, and if this is the other option I'll give you, because I'm willing to try it, you've never done it before, was to strap you to the bed, literally, and then put a series of 20, 30 pound weights and pulleys over the end of the bed, and then put you in traction. And that was the alternative to not being able to do anything again was not an option. So do it. And so there I was, and all the finals week, the entire time I was in the University Hospital in traction.
71?
No, this was freshman year.
Yeah,
71.
71.
Yeah, spring. Yeah, this has been winter 71. Winter quarter.
Looks like we just.
First day of finals, and there's good final stories where a couple of teachers didn't buy my story that I'm in traction at University Hospital. My English professor said, "Well, that's a really good option here."
Liar.
Because my wife happens to be a nurse at the hospital. I'll just have her bring you the final if that's okay. I said, sure, no problem. But when they put you in traction for 3.5 weeks is what it was. The option there is to go crazy, or they're going to put some medicine in my arm. So they just put an IV and they just fed me streamline morphine right through my body. So I'm just totally wasted. So she hands me the paper, and I said, no problem. She said, I'll be back later to pick it up. And she comes back, and I just had enough sense to know that she was looking strange at what I had written, and then went to the end of the bed and looked at it, and I just remember her bursting out laughing. It was just some gobbledygook nonsense, didn't even make sense. So I ended up with a B that he was going to give me anyway. But the whole point of this story, though, is that they transfer me to Hall Health for spring break and beyond. So I'm in there for spring break for my second week. Third week is still in there, and first week of school. But you guys had your spring training, you know, and I forgot that you didn't go that year. We didn't go to Whatcom, but you were still home. You still did the whole thing. And then when they came back, first thing they did to you was, you know, you had the banquet, I suppose, or it was it ceremonious, or do you remember when they sat you down and inducted you into the BBC?
Oh, the,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just got the razor out and just shaved your cue balls, you know. And I'm in the hospital, totally out of it, not even part of the team. And I'm obviously oblivious to what's going on. And so out of nowhere, this group of guys, and I swear it's got to be everyone in this room, you know, maybe a few more, that came, you know, through the door. And honestly, I wish I had, I think I told Teddy that I might have a picture that don't know which one of you guys had the clippers. But one of you guys, you know, just because I didn't know any better and, you know, you thought I should be part of this group, which to me it was one of the coolest things that ever happened in my life, was that you chose to make that point to come up to my room and shave me bald as a cue ball, just like the rest of you knuckleheads wandering around the school, you know. In my case though, you know, I was like the old man, you know, already with the cane. And the beautiful part about that, as weird as I look though, all the high school or the college girls just took pity on me. They carried my books for me. So that was not a bad thing, but then again, I was a cripple and there wasn't a whole lot I can do. I was in, but Gellerman did come to me in fact, he came to the room when they actually took me out of traction, and I thought that was, again, knowing Lou Gell, you know, kind of guy he'd be. He just wanted to check on me and to let me know that I still have a place on the team, and that once I get through, you know, the physical training, you know, I can be back as soon as, you know, I'm willing to come back. And it took me to that fall before I was able to actually physically, you know, get back into a regimen. And first time I got in the boat was probably, I believe, when we came back after the winter, you know, break. Well, you guys are out doing your thing. I was still, you know, on shore. But anyway, you know, that was a turning point in my life. Is, you know, I said that really had no direction. You know, I had no idea, you know, what I was going to do, where I was going to go. Had no thoughts about what I, you know, beyond staying out of the draft. But that's the other thing the doc said, is that, well, I got some good news and bad news. The good news was that there was an option for the back. The bad news, he said, kind of with a wink, is that you're now officially 4F. So I don't know what your thoughts were on that. I'll remember that part. That's before he put me under. But from that point, you know, Crew was everything, you know, about the university experience for the next 4 years, and more important than anything else that was going on. And to this day, just like Andy and so many of you guys said, you know, it shaped me. It's probably the most important thing in my life, you know, that gave me a direction and gave me purpose, and a group of guys that 50 years later look at us. Anyway, appreciate it.
Well said.
I think John just dropped off, looks like so.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, he had a good dinner.
yeah, no, he had things to do. Awesome. Anybody else?
Yes, I really enjoyed being with y'all. I remember our senior year, the freshmen were doing what we thought were an unsatisfactory job, throwing someone in the lake. And so some engineer years ago thought to make those docks down there narrower than an oar is long. So horizontal oar worked really good to clean off all those freshmen off the dock that were doing a poor job.
Yes, I remember.
I really enjoyed being there with you guys. That was great.
So we linked the whole freshman class, is that what happened?
Pretty much.
Well, yes, and what was kind of neat about it in my mind was there was the idea that let's do what Lake Shaw's really like. Let's do a dock sweep, and I bet within 15 seconds everybody was out the door.
Yeah.
And that was very enjoyable to be with you all doing that.
Very cool.
Yeah, some of you probably were on this link, but Mike Cole email was really great seeing and talking with everybody. He was there Friday night. It had been way too long. It amazes me how a common group experience 50 years ago easily rekindled the friendships from that segment of life. Hope the picnic goes well.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for sharing that. I'll send this video on to everybody who's not here, so we'll send it to all of you guys for that matter, so it'll be available. I'm not sure how many hits it'll get outside the rowing community on YouTube, but
It's not gonna go viral.
it may not go viral.
I'm not sure.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not sure that was John dropping off, or if you're recording this on YouTube, is that what you're doing?
No, this is just, my camera has got this recording.
Is it still recording?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we're good, yeah. Anybody else?
Well, we haven't told any Geo stories, and he's not here to defend us.
All right, well, I'm gonna close it off. Last call.
In San Diego.
You got a geo story?
That was the best response.
Yeah, do you have a Geo story?
It came right, and you had to apologize.
Well, I thought, oh my gosh, he hasn't answered in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
He's been hurt.
what's a small term?
And then, fortunately, Tuna jumped in on it and helped me out
Yeah.
and caused him to say, hey.
That was
It
hilarious.
was harsh, wasn't it?
It was.
It was harsh.
Brutal.
Harsh.
He can't take it, yeah.
Does your husband play golf